Welcome to Recovering Addict. We got a special show for you tonight, which I like because I get to take a break from yapping my jaws so much and just kick back and hang out with you all. But tonight we're going to have Krystal on here tonight telling her story. We're going to give it here just a few more minutes to let everybody get logged in and signed up and all that kind of good stuff. What's up, Brittany and Petey? How's everybody doing tonight on the Facebook side of the house? And if you guys are on the Facebook side of the house, share it out and start a watch party. You never know who needs to hear Krystal's story that could help save a life, literally help save somebody's life. And that's a point of us being here, is to be a bridge to a community to continue to help people save each other's lives through their experience, hope, and strength. And that's what it takes. It takes strength to get through recovery and to stay in recovery, to not get complacent and lazy and to fall back into the trap of addiction and denial and all that kind of good stuff. Margaret, how's it going? And Jolie's always posting our stuff.
Jolie.
At this point, it looks like there's only about 2 people in the drawing for our t-shirts. So I might just have to just send you guys some t-shirts.
Dwight
you guys
got his t-shirt. Yes, and it's the right address.
Oh, sweet. Dwight got his shirt.
Always makes me nervous.
Right arm. I'll say hello to everybody. TJ, what's up, brother?
Tracy.
We got Marilyn in the house. And Tracy, my new Facebook friend. I like it a lot.
OMG, that song drives me crazy. It's Jolene.
Oh, I love that. Oh, probably if your name's Jolene. Yeah. Jolie. Yeah. She probably gets sick of hearing that. Hey, there's Linky.
I get Feliz Navidad all the time.
Yeah. Feliz Navidad. She gets it all the time.
Tomorrow's the big day.
Tomorrow's the big day. That's right. So tomorrow's May 30th. That is Dwight and Linky's special day. And tomorrow we're going to dedicate the show to Linky. We're going to watch his whole recovery. We're going to spend the whole time on our Facebook page, from the video that I shot or that I made of the accident. And then we pick up in Facebook, and you guys will see him the first time he ever sat up, the first time he tried to throw a ball, first time he tried to learn to walk.
Didn't I hit the ball at the bar?
All kinds of stuff you did, bud. And it was crazy.
Yeah.
Who's
They
our
didn't even
Facebook
tell me
user?
they were going to sit him up. They just sat him up and I about had a heart attack.
Yeah, and he starts coughing really bad. Mark, what's going on, brother?
Probably not
Glad you're here. We got us a speaker meeting tonight. This is going to be amazing. All right, I'm going to read the 24-hour a day. We who have learned to put our drinking problem in God's hands can help others to do so. We can be used as a connection between an alcoholic's need and God's supply of strength. We in Alcoholics Anonymous, or Narcotics Anonymous, this is interchangeable here. We in Alcoholics Anonymous can be uniquely useful just because we have the misfortune or fortune to be alcoholics ourselves. Do I want to be a uniquely useful person? Will I use my own disease, defects, and failures to help other, just like our special guest tonight's going to do? So the meditation of the day is, I will try to help others. I will try not to let a day pass without reaching an arm of love to someone. Each day I will try to do something to lift another human being out of the sea of discouragements into which he or she has fallen. My helping hand is needed to raise the helpless to courage, to strength, to faith, and to health. In my own gratitude, I will turn and help other alcoholics with the burden that is pressing too heavily upon them. Yeah, we got to lift that burden up off their shoulders. You know how heavy it gets. I know how heavy it gets. So here's our prayer of the day. I pray that I may be used by God to lighten many burdens. I pray that many souls may be helped through my efforts. Amen. That's our prayer for this show tonight, that this message may help many souls. So if you're on YouTube, share the link out. If you are on Facebook, start a watch party, share it out, and hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't already. Without any further ado, let's bring Nicole. Why did I see it in the comments? I do that all the time, but it's Krystal. And here she is. How's it going, Krystal?
Hey, Nicole's doing okay here too. Don't trip. No.
It's her alter ego.
That's a nice name, though. Hey, thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it. First of all, I want to thank my higher power and NA and AA as a whole. I'm very grateful to both programs, and also the Al-Anon, because, you know, those are real heroes, knowing how to deal with us addicts and alcoholics without enabling us. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So obviously my name is Krystal and I'm an addict. I want to say I'm from California. I was born, raised there. I have 3 sisters. Oh no, I'm sorry, 2 sisters. I'm the middle child, so there's three of us girls. And I don't mean to bad talk my parents or anything like that, but this is just kind of part of my story, you know. Both my parents were addicts and alcoholics. And from a very young age, you know, we saw things we shouldn't have saw. We thought things were normal that were not normal. You know, at about, I think I was like 6 or 7, the sheriff showed up at our door and told my parents they were taking me and my sister away, you know. And at that moment, my mom and my dad were like, you know, take care of your sister. Don't let them separate you. And, you know, boom, I had this wrong sense of responsibility on me at like 6, 7 years old. Like, I got to take care of my little sister, you know what I mean? And we were in foster care for like 1.5 years, almost 2 years, and foster home. You know, I wouldn't say that it was horrible. There was some trauma there, nothing sexual or anything like that, but it was rough, you know, and they wanted to separate me and my sister because back then it was a lot easier to place kids in homes when it was just one of them. But every time that day came there, they wanted to separate us. The only thing I knew how to do was like throw a fit, you know, so I started screaming and crying and kicking, and then they would just keep us together, you know. But my parents, you know, they straightened up. They got us back, and things kind of went normal. I would say normal, you know. We had things like power and water and food, things of that nature, you know. So I thought everything was good, but it wasn't abnormal for me to see both of my parents drinking every day. You know what I mean? My mom would have, and I hope this doesn't trigger anybody, I don't mean that to happen that way, but my mom would have a gallon of vodka and my dad would have a gallon of scotch, and every day that's what they did. After work, they drank, you know. And I thought everybody's parents drank, you know. My dad was super strict on us. My mom, not so much. My mom was the one that we could kind of get away with anything with my mom. My dad, he would just look at us and we would be scared. So things didn't, I mean, I always knew I was different. I never felt like I fit in, you know what I mean? From a very early age. I used to tell people that I was like an ugly duckling. I always looked like a little boy all the way up from the time I could remember till I was like 16 years old. I was one of the boys. Climbed trees, rode bikes, got into fights. I didn't think I was any different than the boys. And in elementary school, you know, kids are mean, you know what I'm saying? They don't know no better. And I got picked on a lot because we didn't come from like a wealthy family. My family was blue collar. You know, my dad worked 6 days a week. My mom worked 5. We took care of things around the house, cooked dinner, we did chores, you know, we got new school clothes once a year. So kids picked on me, you know, and I used to let it get to me. And then I got angry, and I learned that really quick, that if you punch somebody in the mouth, they ain't got nothing to say to you. So in like 6th grade, I started getting into fights. I started getting suspended. I start, you know, all that stuff that comes with that ill-placed anger, you know, and no coping skills, you know what I mean? And always feeling that I was different and that I didn't fit in, and I was less than all the time, right? So I always had something to prove, and I thought I could do that with this false identity that I put on of anger and fear and fighting, you know? And it was like 13 years old. I started drinking. You know, my parents did it. What else was I going to do after school when my parents weren't home? You know, we had the whole house to ourselves. So we started drinking their alcohol, you know, and getting away with it. And I remember not drinking like the other kids. You know, they'd be like, "Ooh, let's take a drink," and I'd be like, "Oh no, let's not take a drink. Let's have 5 drinks." You know.
That's me.
Yeah, like, you know, and I knew right away that I didn't drink like they drank, you know. And then I was introduced, I started smoking weed, of course, you know, and that was great too, but it wasn't enough for me. You know what I mean? And I was always trying to fill that hole that I had inside of me with anything but my higher power, which I knew about God. My parents really tried for us. They put us in private school. I went to Christian private school with the stupid little plaid skirts and the knee-high socks and the sweater vests and all that stuff. They really tried, you know, and I heard the preacher in the pulpit, you know, screaming at us that we were sinners and we were going to hell, you know, and I was like, yeah, if I'm going to hell, I'm going to hell my way. And that's kind of how I viewed God. I viewed God as this big, scary person who judged me and who didn't like the things that I was doing. And I wanted to do what I wanted to do. I was rebellious by nature. Like, I think I was born that way. I think I walked out when my mom gave birth to me and I straight up was like, no, I don't want to do that. I don't do what I want to do. So then my drinking really kicked off at about like 16, 17. I started binge drinking, every weekend. And I had made friends with the deacon of our church. His daughter became my best friend in junior high. Her parents did not want anything to do with me. They knew right away that I was a bad kid, man. But they knew that if they kept us apart, it was only going to make it worse, because she really became my like only friend, at that time, my real friend. And her parents would say, oh, yeah, you could spend the night at her house. But they didn't know I didn't have a curfew. My parents gave me a house key and were like, bye. So every weekend that became the thing. I'd walk into a grocery store and I'd steal 2 gallons of liquor every weekend down my pants and walk out the store. And we just get smashed all weekend. And every weekend the deal was she had to be at church Sunday morning. That was the deal. And then she'd be like, you're going to church with me, right? I'd be like, yeah, I'm going to church with you. Every Sunday morning rolled around. That Saturday night, I'm puking in the bathtub. She's puking in the sink. And I'm so hungover, I'm not going to church. And my mom would take her to church, and my friend would be sitting in the pew straight hungover. My mom knew what was up, but she would rather us be at home drinking than out, on the street or whatever. She didn't know any better. She was an alcoholic herself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So then very quickly I was introduced to methamphetamines. And I was like, whoa, now I feel like a different person. Now I feel like I can fit in. And it just spiraled, I moved in and dropped out of school very quickly. In my 11th grade year, dropped out, moved in with a boy. My parents were like, this is the life you want to live. You ain't living at my house. And my dad didn't have any problems kicking me out of the house. But I didn't care. You know what I mean? I got to go live with this boy, and he would sneak me in his house until his mom found out. That later on down the road became my ex-husband. He's now my ex-husband. We have 3 kids together. He moved out here to North Carolina. I followed real quick. When I got here, I was barely 18 years old. I found out I was pregnant 3 months later. Started having kids.
Just a baby.
I was a baby having babies, man. I thought my addiction was under control. I really didn't view it as an addiction. You know what I mean? So I didn't really use when I was pregnant or drink or anything like that, but I did smoke cigarettes. But after each kid was born, I was like, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, got to get in for all that lost time. And then one of his family members introduced me to crack cocaine. And I was like, what the hell is that? And that took me down a whole nother road, man. And I ended up doing a lot of things I said I would never do. Every dollar spent, you know what I mean? Dignity, self-respect, out the window, But that wasn't my one true love, though. My one true love, what I really wanted was methamphetamines, and I couldn't find that when I first got here. But sure enough, where there's a will, there's a way. And once I find that ready supply of what I think is going to make me better and what's going to change the way that I feel, it was off to the races. And I ended up going back to California and leaving my kids with my ex-husband and told him, this isn't working out. I'm done with you, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, okay, I'm going to send the kids to you. Da, 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 da. That didn't happen. He did not send me my kids. He stopped letting me talk to them. He moved, changed his phone number. I went from talking to my kids 3-4 times a day to nothing at all. And I'm not making excuses.
What made him decide to do that to you?
Because he knew that I was using. He knew I was using, you know what I mean? And he had used too, but he had to stop using because he had some serious health conditions and he couldn't drink or use anymore or he would die. You know, I didn't have that luxury. But he was bitter too. He was really bitter and angry at me, and that's cool. You know what I mean? It's fine. So after all that happened, it was my choice. I'm not blaming any of my choices on anybody else, but it kind of pushed me further down that rabbit hole just a little bit more. I ended up going to jail, of course. They caught me with a lot of drugs. And I was like, those aren't mine. I'm not a drug dealer. Or no, what did I say? Oh, I'm not a drug user. This I told the cop. I'm not a junkie. I'm a drug dealer. that was my image of myself at that moment in time. You know what I mean? And he was like, my lawyer looked at me like, are you retarded? Like, what's wrong with you? Like, no, you have a drug problem. And I'm still looking at him like, no, I'm a drug dealer. Don't you know who I am? And he just kind of looked at me like I was hopeless and lost. And then it finally clicked like, oh, yeah. I got a drug problem. Send me to rehab. Which they did. They finally sent me to rehab after about 4 months in the county jail. While I was in the county jail and then in the process of going to the rehab, my ex-husband got custody of my kids. And I had no idea. There were 3 court dates, blah, 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 blah. I had no clue. I was in California. How am I supposed to know about these courts? He never said a word to me. Not one word to me. But on the phone, he's telling me, I love you. I miss you. We can work this out, blah, 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 blah. So guess what I do? I bounce. I leave the program. I'm out of here. I think I did like 5 months of a year program. I did 5 months and I skipped town.
Oh man, was this an in-house or out?
It was a residential in-house. Yeah, it sure was, and it was a great program too. I look back on it now, like, damn, I should have stayed. But
Right?
I really wasn't willing. You know what I mean? I really wasn't willing. They had all these rules and phone times and bed times and cleaning schedules, and I was like, yeah. I'm good.
Did you have to escape from this? Was it a place you were locked in? Because I was in a halfway house and we were actually locked up. And if I were to get out of there, I would have had to escape. Or was it easy for you to walk away?
I packed up my stuff and I said, I'm leaving. They were like, you really want to do this? And I was like, yeah. And they were like, you know, when your probation officer calls, because I did have a probation officer and they made me register as a drug offender in the state of California. And I was like, yeah, I'm done. Screw this. I can't do this place, blah, blah. They were like, okay. They let me pack my shit up and they let me leave. And I drove back out here to North Carolina and got back with the ex.
Jeez.
Yeah, drove. Straight up drove.
2 days, huh?
Yeah. So it took me a long time. My godfather actually drove me out here. And unbeknownst to him, I was riding dirty. He had no idea. He had no clue. No clue at all. And I got here and trying to make it work with the ex-husband. I really tried. That was not happening. So I left again. Ended up in another horrible, toxic relationship for 7 years after that with an alcoholic. Because, you know, at this point in my life, I'm thinking I deserve this kind of treatment, right? Oh. The things I had done, you know, losing my kids and I'm on drugs. And now at this point, I'm using needles. You know what I'm saying? So at this point, I'm thinking I'm the scum of the earth, right? I'm thinking I deserve to be called out my name. I deserve for him to put his hands on me sometimes. You know what I mean? Like I'm feeling I deserve to live in this rundown shack that he's calling a home for us, right? And it just was getting more toxic. And then my addiction just really was like balls to the wall, can't take anymore. And I'm talking about, when I tell you I went on a 1.5 year binge, I mean, I was down to like 100 pounds. I'm surprised in all that time I did not get arrested. I really, I know it was my higher power, you know, and I know a lot of things shoulda, coulda, almost happened to me, and they didn't, and they should have. You know what I mean? And I'm very grateful for that. So while I was in jail in California, I found out one of the guys that I was getting my drugs from, they found him execution style dead in the driveway of his house, in his house. And I was like, dude, like I would ride with him in his car like all the time. You know what I mean? Like, so when I tell you that jail possibly saved my life at one point in time, I really honestly, truly believe that. I really do. So when I got on that spiral binge, I mean, it got so bad that other people, other drug addicts were like, dude, you are too much. Like, you need to slow down. Like, I think you have a problem. And I'm like, what? Like, aren't we all doing this at the same time? And we're all at the same house and doing the same drugs. And what do you mean I have a problem? I mean, because I really rolled that line of crazy all the time. Like, there was no moderation for me at all. I didn't even know what that word meant, moderation, you know. And of course, my tolerance is getting higher and higher. So I'm using more and more and more and more. And people are looking at me like, dude, you're about to do that much dope right now? And I'm like, isn't that how much you do?
Yeah.
Like, I'm the only one. So it got so bad that these people were telling me, you can't come here. Like, other drug addicts were telling me, like, you can't stay here. Like, you gotta go. And I was like, what? Like, you're kidding me right now, right? And like, they were like, yeah, I don't care where you go, but you can't stay here. So then it was pretty much like every door kind of shut down for me. You know what I mean? Other addicts didn't want me around. I tried going back to the ex-husband's house. He was like, you can't stay here. You can't be around the kids. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. I had been in rehab that one time in California, and I went to meetings and stuff because that was like what they did. You know what I mean? But I really never kind of grasped the whole concept. You know, I did have a sponsor back then at one point in time, but I only worked the 3 steps because they told me that's what I had to do to get a day pass and leave the place for the whole day. I had to have a sponsor and I had to work the first 3 steps. So I was like, yeah, I can do that. Let me out, you know? So I was really, really scared. I didn't have anywhere to go. You know what I mean? And I didn't know what to do. So I had what I call a burning bush experience.
How old were you at this point in time?
Oh, at this point in time, I was 30, 34, 35, something like that.
So your kids are teenagers
with their dad.
now, and they're with their dad.
They're with their dad. I'm seeing them off and on here and there. When I want to see them on holidays, I have to go spend the night at his house, right? And I didn't know all that stuff was dysfunctional. You know what I mean? I thought that was normal. I thought if I wanted to see my kids, that's what I would have to do. You know what I mean? Birthdays, Thanksgiving, Christmas. I'd go over there and I'd stay the night at his house just so I could be with my kids. It wasn't until later on that I know, like, hey, normal divorced, separated people don't do that. I was like, oh, really? Y'all aren't doing that? So like I said, then I had my burning bush experience. Oh, no, I'm sorry. That's not what happened. I overdosed on purpose. The voices in my head was so bad. The paranoia, the voices. I mean, literally, it was like a constant thing, you know. Sleep deprivation causes insanity. I don't know if you guys know that or not.
Absolutely.
But when you stay up for 6 days, you're going to start seeing things. You're going to start hearing things. It's not going to be fun. At least it wasn't for me. And those voices told me that I would be better off dead. Right?
Oh, wow.
My kids would be better off. The world would be better off. No one would miss me. Right? And at no point in time during that moment did I think to myself, well, maybe if you stop doing drugs, you know, maybe it's not you. Maybe it's the drugs. Did I think of any other way out? So I intentionally walked to the nearest grocery store that had a bathroom, and I commenced to overdosing on a crap ton of methamphetamines. And I did enough that should have killed me, but it didn't. From what I was told, because I don't remember, I had a seizure. I remember waking up to the paramedics and them telling me, I didn't know what was going on. So I started like fighting because I just had a seizure. And the guy like really cinched me up. This was a big dude. And he was like, yeah, no. And they strapped me to a board and they took me to the hospital. And they had to give me a bunch of Halidol and stuff because I was like freaking out. And I thought everybody was in on it. The doctors, the nurses, that poor little nurse girl, man, she was, oh God, she was like 19 years old. I'm throwing shit at her and cussing her out. And she is like freaked out. And I was just like, then I heard the doctor say, oh, such and such cc's of Halidol. And I was like, what's that? You're not putting that in me. But I'm basically shooting up methamphetamines that has who knows what in it. Right. And I'm like, no, don't give me some medicine. They hit me with the Halidol and I'm down. So then they wheel in one of those TV monitors and there's like a psychologist on it or whatever. And she's like, oh yeah, so why did you try to kill yourself and blah, blah, blah. And I was pissed. At this point, I'm angry because A, I didn't die and I wanted to. B, they wouldn't let me sleep or eat like I wanted to. They tied me down to the bed. So I couldn't get up and go to the bathroom on my own. They had to like bring me at bedtime because I was so combative. But that's not my fault. That's their fault, right?
Yeah.
And I'm so pissed. And I tell her, well, because my shoes were the wrong color. That's a bad idea. I strongly don't recommend you telling a psychiatrist that because she said, oh, this is a game to you. This is a joke. She was like, all right, Davidson, boom. And I'm like, and she turned off the monitor. She was gone. I'm like, wait, what's Davidson? What is that? What the heck is that? So they keep me strapped to the bed. And then an officer shows up, a sheriff. They handcuff me, put me in the back of a police car, and drive me about almost 2 hours away to a mental hospital.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it still's not clicking in my mind, really, kind of like what's really going on. And I get there, and they take my shoestrings. They take my bra. They take everything, hair ties, all of that. And they put me in this hospital gown and stick me in with these little rubber socks on the bottom of my feet. And they're like, yeah, you're going to stay here now. And I get in there and I have some mental illness in my life and I'm not knocking anybody that does. Please don't be offended at this. But I mean, I was in there with real people that needed to be there. Checker eating, window licking. I mean, that's the floor they had me on. And I was like looking around like, I don't need to be here. Like, I just really like to do drugs. Why am I here right now? So I don't know about you guys, but when I get in situations like that, I'm a real yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, yes, sir, no, sir. Follow the rules. Whatever you need me to do, just let me out of here. So I told them what they wanted to hear, and I was in there for like a week, and they let me go. Woo! So I would love to say that that was the end of my using, but it wasn't. So then I had another real evil, omnious experience, and it pushed me towards needing to get clean. And in AA, they talk about the 4 horsemen and the omnious warning signs. With like that happened to me. Like that really happened to me. And I got dropped off and at a house that I knew where they were cooking meth in the bathtub. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to get clean here. I'm not going to do any drugs. And the guy that lives in there was like, oh, I've already told anybody they're not allowed to do drugs around you. They're not allowed to sell you any drugs, and you're not allowed to use any drugs. And I was like, what? What did you just say? And he was like, you heard me. I know you're trying to get clean, and you can get clean here and stay here as long as you need to. And I've already warned everybody. As soon as he got in the shower, I took all that dude's dope, and I was gone. But the next day, I realized I cannot stay here. Like I can't stay here. Like people were coming in and out, buying dope, right? This, that, and the third. I slept for like 4 days straight. Like 4 days straight I slept. And at the 4th day, I said, I can't do this anymore. You know, I cannot do this anymore. And you guys seen my husband earlier, and it's really, really weird because my husband rents a house from the guy's mom who I was there at, and he showed up over there like every single day and was like, this isn't your life, man. Like, what are you doing? You need help. You need me to take you somewhere? Like, whatever you need. And I'd be like, yeah, whatever. And I'd go back to sleep. For 4 days that went on. And the fourth day, I was like, you know what? I can't stay here. I can't. And I reached out to this guy that I knew from AA. And he came. He drove all the way. He drove like an hour and a half to come pick me up. And he tells it to this day. He's like, girl, I picked you up straight out of Deliverance. I could hear the banjos playing when I pulled in the driveway. And he did. He picked me up and he took me and he dropped me off at the detox. And he told me, he said, are you ready to meet yourself for the first time?
Oh, wow.
And I was like, what? And he was like, whoever you were before that first time you took a drink or a drug, you ready to meet that person again. So I did my detox. I got out. I was like, I could go back to the alcoholic boyfriend or the drug dealing boyfriend. But that's really not what I'm trying to do, right? And so I call the same dude up. I call him the AA Nazi. I call him up and I'm like, Lewis, I can't go back to the alcoholic boyfriend. I can't go back to the dope house. Like, where do I go? And he's like, don't trip. I got you. And he picks me up and he takes me to this hotel. And we pull in and I'm like, I don't know what you thought was going on, but I'm down like that. And he looked at me and he was like, what the hell is wrong with you, girl? Are you sick? He was like, you're really sick. He was like, I'm dropping you off. I rented you a room for a week and I'm going to go sleep in my car. Blew my mind. I mean, it blew my mind into like 5 ways to Sunday. I had no idea that somebody would do that for me. You know what I mean? And he took me to meetings every single day. Literally, he'd pick me up at 6 o'clock in the morning. We'd hit an early morning meeting. Then he'd take me and get me food. Didn't ask me for nothing. No money, nothing. Then we'd go to an afternoon meeting. Then we go to an evening meeting. Then we go to a late meeting. Then he dropped me off back at the hotel. I put a chair in front of the door because I was scared. I knew me. So I shoved the chair under the door and I deadbolt it. And I do the same thing over and over for the whole week. That's what I did. And then the week was up and he was like, don't trip. Like, I'm freaking out here, man. What am I going to do? I don't even know where to go. He was like, how about a homeless shelter? And I was like, are you crazy? And he was like, yeah, you're going to a homeless shelter. And I was like, I can't do that, dude. And he was like, oh, yes, you can. And he dropped me off in front of the homeless shelter in downtown Charlotte. And didn't anybody look like me there? They didn't sound like me there. And I was the only one that looked like me that was out there. And I said, hell no, I'm not doing this. And I called my mom and I was like, Mom, this dude wants me to go to a homeless shelter right now. Like, do they not know who I am?
I'm
me?
a good person.
Me in a homeless shelter? Are you crazy? And she said, well, if it was me, I would just go back to the boyfriend and let him take care of me. But we're not talking about me. We're talking about you. And I think you really need to get your little butt in there. So I did that. And come to find out, they had a drug program there too. So I got a part of that. And that started my whole sobriety journey. I would love to say that I stayed clean. I didn't. I had a couple of white chips in between, right? But what I remember that stuck with me was I really hated feeling that desperate feeling of not wanting to go back to where I came from, right? I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. I had enough pain, all those cliches that they say, like, really was happening for me. But I don't knock myself for each one of my white chips. You know what I mean? That's part of my story and it's part of my journey. I don't recommend that to people. Relapse happens. It's not a requirement, but it does happen. It was because I didn't follow suggestions. They said, go to meetings. I said, okay, I can do that. And I would go to meetings, but I wouldn't share. And I said, well, you kind of got to share, right? And you got to get a sponsor and you got to work steps and you got to do service work. I'm like, I'm not doing all that, but I'll go to meetings. Boom, I relapsed. Well, you really should get a sponsor. Okay, I'll get a sponsor. Go to meetings, get a sponsor. But I wasn't using my sponsor, working in the steps. Boom, I relapsed, right? So then they're like, well, don't go around old people, places, and things that, you used to do. I'm going to show you. My mom got sick. I went back to California. I went to go show everybody how good I looked. I was high within 5 seconds. of me being there. And I had 11 months clean that time, but I didn't work any steps. And I wasn't calling my sponsor. And I went straight to the place where I knew they were all getting loaded. So boom, I relapsed again. So then I come back out here and I'm going to these meetings again, picked up another white chip, and they're like, dude, you really got to work some steps if you want to stay clean. And I was like, yeah, I'll do that. Then I started working some steps. I actually got to my 4th step, and then my mom died. And I used that as an excuse to go back out. And I say that because at the time I didn't know that's what I was doing. And it was through after my mom passed away and me coming back here and getting honest and going to meetings for 3 months in my pajamas with my sponsor making me go, literally knocking on the door, picking me up to go to these meetings when I was about to say screw AA because I was pissed off at God that he took my mom. And I told myself, I can't feel that pain, right? If you were me and you died too, you would use too. That was the justification that I did. So 3 months in my pajamas and meetings, and then one day, and a 6'4", 100 and how much you weighs? I don't know, 6'4" black man looking at the parking lot after an AA meeting saying, "Why won't you just let us help you?" And I looked up at him like, "Who are you talking to?" Literally looked up at him like this, and I was immediately pissed. And then I started crying because he was right. Like, I can't, how do I expect to get clean and stay clean if I won't let anybody in? And at that moment is when I finally surrendered. And my clean date is December 15th, 2015. And it's because of people in the program, because of my sponsor. You know, I got my kids back in 2018. I got custody back of my kids. You know, they're bigger now. My daughter's almost 21. My oldest son is 17. My youngest son is 15. I met my husband 3 years ago. Even though I had known him before, I got clean and started working a program. We always stayed in contact. And I remember that he was there those 4 days telling me, this isn't you. He didn't have to be there. You know what I mean? I truly believe that my higher power sent him there for a reason. Not so we could get married later, but so that he can give me that moment of pause and that moment of clarity so that I would think that I needed more and I deserved more. And I had, how long was I clean? I think I had a year, almost a year clean when our paths crossed again. And we started dating. And I told God, like, nah, man, I don't want to do this again. I literally was like, I don't want to do this. And this one, he knew what was up. And he was like, you're going to marry me one day and you're going to fall madly in love with me. And I was like, this one is so full of himself. Who does he think he is? 3 months later, we got engaged.
That's awesome. So before we get into the recovery part of your story, I'm going to jump in with Cassie's quote of the day.
Hey guys, good to see you. I'm back today with your motivational quote on Recovering Addicts. What if you simply dedicated this year to loving yourself more? Unknown. And as always, you guys know what to do. Let's continue to spread that love.
Yeah, love yourself more, huh?
Thank you, Cassie.
Love it. So now you got some relapses under your belt. You got some recovery and head knowledge and stuff. And now you're engaged to Tim, right?
Yes. And then the service work just kind of fell in my lap. You know what I mean? And I really kind of got complacent in our area and the meetings and stuff like that. You know, you go to the same ones. You see the same people. And I don't know about y'all, but I have to keep going. If I get stagnant or stay in one place too long, I'm left alone with this. And by myself, it's not a good place to be. Nope. And I get stir crazy. So this rebound thing kind of just dropped in our lap. And my husband and I started taking an NA meeting into this rehab facility that's like 15 minutes down the road from our house. And we started doing that. And then I started, after I completed my I've done my steps like I don't know how many times now. I'm on my 4th time now doing my steps, but
Wow.
yeah, I didn't play this time because that's what they told me to do. You know what I mean? Today, I can follow suggestions, and the steps help me kind of clean all that out, all that guilt, all that shame, all that remorse, and fill it up with something good, which is my higher power. And knowing that what my assets are, you know what I mean, and knowing what my character defects are and how to work on them.
Right.
So that service work is amazing. Like, I love going there. And then the lady loved us so much, and she got so much positive feedback from the patients there that she was like, can you do a second meeting? And I was like, well, no, because like my job and blah, blah, blah. The very next day, I'm not even lying to you, the very next day after she asked me that, my boss came to me and was like, no, we're not going to need you on this day or this day anymore. Like, the schedule's going to change, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, guess we're doing it 2 nights a week then.
So let me ask you a question really quick. You say you're on your 4th time through the steps. Obviously, you're working your program, and you're proof that if you work it, it works. Is there any epiphanies you've had from the growth between each time you've done the steps? So anything that stands out different to you that's just like, wow, the second time you did it, and then wow, again, the third time you did it?
So the first time I did it, I was full of fear, right? Like, not knowing, because you don't really know what it's about until you're actually doing it, right? And you actually finish it. And I hear people talking about, you know, I'm going to these meetings and I'm hearing like, oh my God, my 4th of this. And, you know, you hype yourself up, because I don't know about you, but like, I like to project things, and I like to freak out about them before they actually even happen to me. So I was like so scared and so nervous, and but I had a great sponsor at the time who was like, dude, stop. And she like sat down with me, and I told her, I was like, pretty much every time I come to step work, I relapse. And she was like, well, that's not going to happen this time. And she like literally, we'd meet twice a week, and she'd sit down with me, and we'd just start knocking it out. And she shared a little bit about her stuff, which made me feel a little bit better about my stuff. And then the second time I did them, I didn't have much fear of doing it. You know what I mean? Because I had already done it. I'm like, oh, I know how to do this. So it's basically like, and it's like layers. You know what I mean? The second time around, I remembered things and thought about things that I didn't put on the one before. Because for me, a lot can change in a small amount of time. You know what I mean? Resentments for me, fears for me, other character defects that I need to work on, they'll show itself to me. You know what I mean? And if I get honest and put pen to paper, it's way different, and I can compare the two. You know what I mean? Well, I don't have that first one anymore because we burned it, but yeah, it's like they say, talking about layers and an onion and all that stuff. It's really true. You know, I mean, it's really, really true. And I just remember seeing how selfish that I really, really was. You know, like that, how like through and through all of my stuff, man. It's like the fear and the selfishness stands out so prominently to me, because I used to say all the time, like, I ain't afraid of nothing, blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? But when it comes down to it, like, I'm really afraid of a whole lot of crap, you know? And each time I've been able to get more vulnerable with another human being and let my sponsor in a little bit more. You know what I mean? And that helps me in my personal relationships too. Because you can ask him. He says all the time that I'm cold-hearted all the time. I don't mean to be. I just have a real hard time showing that softer side of me because I had to be a different person for so long. You know, I found out I like shoes. And jewelry that I don't have to sell anymore.
You keep it.
Oh, I forgot about that. I used to sell all kinds of jewelry to get meth. And I was like you too when it came to meth. I have a cousin who was an addict. You know, he's almost twice my age now. Well, not twice my age, but he's good, 12 years older than me. And I started running around with him doing meth. And he saw how crazy I was and hasn't done it since, because
nice.
I was like you. I was like, got to the point where the dealers were like, you can't be around here. You are too nuts. But that I was like you, I was doing hot rails that were as long as my arm. And yeah, I almost shot up, but I got arrested and spent a year in jail instead.
Nice. I really remember like a lot of people that have met me or knew me or whatever, and I could see people like, why do you have to do this? You know what I mean? Like you're so much better. Like, oh, she's on drugs. Like everybody knew I was on drugs. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't hiding anything from anybody like I thought I was. You know what I mean? And a thing sticks true to me so much is like, you know, the guy, people would ask me all the time, like, I saw this quote on Facebook and it said, why do you continue to take the hard road? Right? And I'm like, well, what makes you think I see two roads? Because in my active addiction, I have tunnel vision. I see one way. And recovery has taught me that there's always two ways, right? You might not like the other one. It's going to make you uncomfortable, right? It's going to make you squirm a little in your seat. And you don't like the really way it makes you feel right away. But the reward in the long run, the relief and the release is totally worth the uncomfortability.
Amen.
You know? We're only as sick as our darkest secret, so you better get honest and get real with somebody.
So here's a question Iron Wolf has. What would you answer to this because as you guys heard, Krystal volunteers her time 2 nights a week when obviously we're open, not from COVID, chairing AA and NA meetings. What do you think about that question on your screen?
I'm sorry, it says...
Can you see the question on your screen?
Yeah, it says, I thought about going to a meeting, but I think they won't take me serious when I tell them I only drink 1 pint of vodka 4 or 5 days a week. People got worse problems than me. Oh, yeah. So the feeling of better than or worse than. So the way I think about it is I was kind of the same way. I thought when I got to AA, and I'm going to say this as nicely as I possibly could, I was like, these alcoholics don't know nothing about me. I'm a junkie. You know what I mean? Like, I shouldn't be here. You know what I mean? They're so much better than me. I'm a horrible person. So mine was kind of the opposite spectrum of that. And I went to an AA meeting one time, and all these women were like older women, and I'm not knocking older women, you know, but they had like their Prada bags and wearing their like little tennis skirts and their little visor hats and had all their diamond gold jewelry on, you know, and I'm walking in there with some Chuck Taylors, some holy jeans, a wallet chain, and a wife beater. You know what I mean? And I'm looking around going, oh my God, I do not belong here, you know? And I felt so uncomfortable. Here's my thing, man. If you're going to find a meeting and you don't feel comfortable there, go to another one, right? We're no better than or no worse than the person sitting next to us. Your pain is your pain, right? Your struggle is your struggle. It may not be the same as everybody else's, but it's still yours. Like, are you tired of feeling the way you have to feel each and every time after you drink for those 4 or 5 days a week? Right? My husband was a functioning addict, but he was still an addict. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter how much or how little you have, who your connections are, right? It says it in the readings. We don't care what, right? We care about what your problem is and how you want to solve that problem. You know what I mean? Don't be afraid. And here's what my sponsor told me. What other people say or think about you ain't none of your damn business, no way. You're not there for them. You're there for you.
Yep. Agreed.
That's good advice.
I didn't call just one drug dealer.
Right.
I didn't go to just one bar. You know what I mean? Go to different meetings. Go to as many as it takes until you find that one where you're like, yeah, I can do this. Yeah, there's some meetings I won't go to. Like, I'm like, nope.
Here's another question for you.
How do you deal with showing up after a relapse? I had 1.5 years clean and relapsed, and now I have 2 weeks, but I'm embarrassed. That's your disease lying to you. There is no shame in picking up another white chip and coming back. The only shame is if you don't make it back. That's the real shame. You know, I understand though, like I felt that shame each and every time I picked up a white chip, but people welcomed me with open arms. Like, I thought they were judging me, but they really weren't. They were really being like, oh my God, she made it back. Hell yeah. You know what I mean? And it wasn't until I put that guilt and that shame down, and then I was able to see how welcoming they really were to me. You know, they really don't judge you, because I'm telling you right now, it's very, very, it's possible. Like one-chip wonders really are out there, right? My husband is one. I mean, it is possible, but it's very rare. So if you're sitting there thinking like you're the only one that's ever picked up more than one white drip, sorry, kiddo, it's not the truth.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. They told me very early on, your feelings will lie to you. And they will change in 5 minutes anyways.
Yep.
So be really careful on how much thought you put into that feeling of guilt, that feeling of remorse or shame, right? Be real careful. Be real careful with that, man.
I think I kind of look at that guilt and shame for a relapse a blessing, because you're awake to have it. Imagine if you relapsed and died and your parents or wife or husband or kids are feeling that guilt or that death sadness. You know what I mean? It could be way worse.
I agree with that 100% fully. You know what I mean? That's the real sadness, is what your family would do after you passed away. I mean, oh, you're welcome. I see people all the time that come through the rehab, 1, 2, third time there, fifth time there. You know what I mean? But they keep coming back, and each time they learn what they weren't paying attention to the last time, and they kind of figure out what they stopped doing. I've been a functioning alcoholic, I think.
He's the one that was asked you the first question.
Yeah, functioning, right? My dad was a functioning alcoholic. Yeah, and he died alone by himself in a trailer. He drank himself to death. Yeah, after my mom died. But he was functioning. He worked 6 days a week, never took no vacation days, no sick days, and he drank like a fish. His liver just knocked out on him. He had hepatitis. He had a massive heart attack. His body gave out on him. The dog curled up next to him and died. Literally, not even joking. They didn't find him until 5 days. He had been in there, passed away. 5 days, they found him.
Oh, dang. And the dog?
And the dog. The dog was old already, though, but.
Wow,
Yep.
that's sad.
It's sad. No, it's really sad. I'm telling you, man. It's really sad. But I was able to go through that differently than when my mom had passed away. Because at this point, when my dad passed away, it was 2 years ago, I had already worked the program. I'd already worked the steps. I had a foundation. I had a support group, and it was completely different. Yeah, and we went to Colorado too.
Oh, jeez. Well,
Yeah.
there you go.
Yeah, we went to Colorado too, and I was good. I was straight. Not one time did drinking or drugging come across my mind after my dad passed away, and it's because of the program and my higher power, my sponsor, my network.
Wow. What step are you on right now on your fourth time through?
I'm doing my fourth again, and I haven't listened. My sponsor's probably like, "Girl, get together, better get cracking," because I'm sitting on it. I'm literally sitting on it right now.
So how many years span has it been since you've done the first to the fourth?
So let's see, 2015. So I do them pretty much like, it's been like one a year through all 12 steps each year. It seems like that's kind of how it's calculating in my mind. I may have, but this one I've paused on for a real long time. I'm not even gonna lie. I've been on this fourth step for a hot minute, like way too long this time. I'm not even lying.
So when you hit like the fourth step again, and now it's the fourth time you've done the fourth step, what kind of resentments are you working through now? Is it just like most recent ones and small ones, or do you kind of all of a sudden have stuff pop up again from the past?
So the only main one that I have that's literally been on each and every one seems to be my ex-husband. I ain't gonna lie, but it's because it's so constant. You know what I mean? Like, I'll work through it, I'll forgive, I'll try to move on, right? And then something else happens.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And so I think that one's the hardest one for me. And then it's not so more resentments on constructs or government or facilities or anything like that, more the resentments that I have that pop up right now seem to be the ones that are most prominent in my life right now.
The hard ones to get over.
Yeah, the real hard ones. But each time that I've done it, I've become more aware of seeing my part in it, right? And anybody that works in a 4-7, I'm going to tell you right now, we have a part in everything, right? It may not have been your fault, and it may have been something you couldn't control or step away from. And I learned this through my sponsor. The most part I had in a lot of my, hey, Miss Donna. Oh, I love her so much. So one of the main things that I learned about my part in things is some of them, like I said, wasn't my fault, whatever, but I held on to it.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't let it go. So that was my part in it. I was like, oh, that's a thing? Yeah, that's a thing. That's a real thing.
Yeah, I can relate with the X thing there. I super resentment. And then when you start to get to that point where like, oh, okay, I can get over it and forgive, the phone rings and you're just like,
you look at it and you're like, jeez, what is it? You already know. You already know. You're like, damn it. But the good part about this is I've learned a lot of acceptance. I've accepted oh, thank you. I love her. I'm so proud of her too. You know, she has a lot of clean time. A lot of clean time. That lady is amazing. I'm gonna tell you right now. That Donna Stanovich is amazing.
Join our group, Donna, and give us some of your strength and hope.
Yeah, she's awesome. She played a big part in my recovery story too.
Oh, awesome.
Mm-hmm. She's the one who got me into that rehab in California. She was one of the ladies who ran it.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Wow, we'll have to have her on here and tell us her story.
She's my older sister's sister.
Oh, wow.
That's cool.
That's way cool.
Yeah, but I've accepted the fact that he's not going to change. He's going to be what he is. And so each time he does something, I'm like, yep, saw that one coming. 20 years. See that? 20 years she's got.
That is awesome.
You sound just like Alicia's sponsor, she said.
Who said that?
Alicia.
They're popping up.
Go up to.
That's awesome. Yeah, Iron Wolf, I think if you feel like you got a problem, you're listening to this kind of stuff, sounds like you want to be free from it, and then it doesn't matter. Like I was an everyday drinker, but guess how it started? On the weekends. Once a month is how it started. And if it's controlling you already once a week or a little bit more, 2-3 years from now, it might be every day. And then 2 or 3 more years later, it might be all day. You're losing jobs and all kinds of stuff. And
drinking on the job, and then you have to drink because you're shaking so bad. You got to have a drink. Like, hey, man, I say this all the time. Like, I don't care what you're addicted to. Drugs, alcohol, it makes no difference to me. Addiction is addiction. Yep. Right? The steps are the steps. No matter what program you do, AA, NA, CA, they got HA now. Now I heard they're getting the Krystal S Anonymous too. They also got the chemically dependent, right? It doesn't matter. The steps are there for a reason, and they're in order to set you up for success.
Yeah.
I noticed something. I like you mentioned the crystal meth. And her name is Krystal.
Funny story. Yeah. So I told you my mother was an addict, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why my name is Krystal.
Really?
Whoa.
No lie. I was 4 pounds 6 ounces when I was born. A meth baby.
Named Krystal. Well, there you go, Linky.
No, I know that.
Linky figured it out.
Never say never, Iron Wolf. You never ever know.
Smart kid. You would never drink on the job. Oh, I said I would never steal from my job.
I've stopped saying like absolutes like that in my life anymore. Like I'll never do that, or I will do that, because I always seem to fail myself when I throw absolutes out there.
That's right.
I'm not saying you ever will, Iron Wolf, but You never know.
You never though. You never know. I mean, I don't steal from my current job.
No, me either.
But other jobs, I drank on the job. I did drugs on the job. I stole money on the jobs. But now I work in a pharmacy.
Wow.
Ooh, that is a
God is a trip.
Yeah, that's a high risk.
God is a trip. Yeah. I'm not like a technician or anything, but I am certified to be back there to fill prescriptions, to type prescriptions, to sell prescriptions. I'm not back there full time. I'm only back there sometimes, right? But I did have to get a certification for it. My manager knows that I'm in recovery, know that I work a program. Now I don't get into details about all my stuff, you know what I mean? And I don't suggest that to somebody who's brand spanking new. Don't try to go out there and get a job at a pharmacy.
No.
But if your spiritual condition is fit and you keep constantly trying to have that connection with your higher power, then you can do anything. You can go anywhere.
Yeah, and they call alcohol cunning and baffling and powerful.
Right.
And meth, I was just like you. Mine was meth and alcohol. I did crack once. I tried heroin once, and I hated the way it felt.
Yeah.
But I wanted to go 100 miles an hour and stay awake for 100 days in a row. And the more I could stay awake and hallucinate and get into that paranoia state, the more I liked it. That's where I wanted to live.
Yeah. Yeah, I wasn't a downers person because I was like, nope, I got to go, now. I mean, I was in the 3rd grade and my 3rd grade teacher told my mom, I think we should put her on Ritalin. I think she's ADD and ADHD. I mean, in the 3rd grade, my desk was either right next to the teacher or off in the corner away from anybody else because I couldn't sit still, I couldn't stop talking, and I couldn't quit moving.
Didn't you put Amos on some type of medication?
Yeah, I was put on Ritalin in 9th grade, and I think that's what kicked me off. Aaron was wondering what your sober date was.
December 15th or 16th, 2015.
Wow. Look at Alan with the memory. Bam.
There you go. That's right. 2015. I have a hard time remembering that. Is that bad?
Yep, kind of like an alcoholic working in a bar. Yeah, Erin's kind of like you. She's gotten clean and stuff, and she works around alcohol. Erin, I don't know if you just heard, but she works in a pharmacy, which is pretty cool. Because like you said, I think the key to what you just said right there was being spiritually fit.
Yes.
And that's the key to our sobriety right there.
It really is. I was kind of freaked out when they asked me to do it. I was like, no, I can't do that. Whoa. You know what I mean? I was like, danger. But I talked to my sponsor about it. You know what I mean? I prayed about it. And it was, and you would think that being around all the drugs and the needles, right, that would get me. It wasn't that. What got me when I first started doing it was the addicts coming in to the pharmacy talking about they needed a pack of syringes for their cat.
Right.
Or the lady that's yelling at me to get her refill on her pain pills when you still have like 2 weeks, I can't fill it because it's a controlled substance and you're way too early. And she's arguing with me that she spilled them down the drain and she needs a refill.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like that is kind of what got to me. And that's what I had a hard time with in the beginning. You know what I mean?
How do you deal with those people now? And you can't, obviously you see right through them as soon as they walk through the door.
As soon as they walk up to the thing, I'm like, I want to help them.
Right.
You know what I mean? I want to help them. I want to talk to them. I want to say something, but I'm not allowed to. Right? It's against the ethics and the rules at my job. You know what I mean? Now, if they approached me saying something, then I could say something. It's happened to me before. A girl came in there and she was just gone. I'm talking, homegirl had been up for days and she was babbling and talking all kind of stuff. And she talked to the pharmacist and he came to me and was like, hey, can you go talk to her? You know, like, I think she needs your help. And I did. I talked to her. She ended up going to a couple meetings with us. But then we didn't hear from her anymore. You know what I mean? And then that's just how it kind of goes, you know. Sometimes people are willing and I don't blame her. You know, I wasn't willing in the beginning either. Nope. Yeah, and her parents enabled her a lot. Her parents. I'm like, you gotta stop. You gotta stop letting her come back to your house after being gone for 2 weeks and stealing all your money and blah, blah, blah. And you keep letting her come back in the house. And you keep going and picking her up. I was like, you got to stop doing that, man. You know, enabling is death for us. You know, you're going to love them so much, you're going to help kill them.
Yeah.
What are you gonna say?
Knew a guy that died sober with 40 years that actually owned a bar in Palm Beach, Florida. He actually used to have meetings in the back room on Sunday. Oh, snap. Dang.
Wow.
That's crazy. That is so cool. I'm telling you, right spiritual condition, you can go anywhere. It says in the AA Big Book, we recoil from alcohol as if to a hot flame. You're like, ooh, that's hot. I don't want to touch it.
Yes, I love that. Yeah, it's funny about being willing, because even after I checked myself into a detox at age 40 from alcohol, my meth addiction was my early 20s, and then alcohol was in my 40s. And for the first 2 months in my IOP, I was unwilling to be there, even after all the crap I could see. You know what I mean? It's just it's ridiculous.
Well, it's funny, when my mom died, the first thing I didn't pick up meth when she died. The first thing I picked up was alcohol.
Oh.
Because I was like, I'm not, if I pick up the dope, it's all over. So first thing I picked up was alcohol. And then the dope came later, but because booze is the fuse for me. The alcohol is not enough.
Nope.
I do the drinking, and then it's not enough, and I go get what I really, really want.
Yep.
And
Yeah,
sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, you put anything in front of my face after I've had a couple of drinks, I'm doing it.
I'm doing it. And my AA Nazi friend, he used to tell me, I'm the hitman and I'm the target.
Oh, yeah.
My disease wants me dead, and it talks to me in my own voice.
Oh, big time. Smooth.
Yeah. Looking for Taco Anonymous. My husband is a mess. We were talking about that earlier. Like, after you get clean and sober, you got to put the food down, man.
Yep.
That's the next thing that's gonna happen. Not for a while though, but
That's my addiction was food while he was an addict. Now I got to put my food down.
it happens. Tell you what, those tacos, they call you. Well, I tell my husband all the time, I'm like, dude, you don't understand. I didn't sleep for 15 years, nor did I eat properly. So I'm making up for lost time.
Right? I went to jail so dope sick on meth that they woke me up, and my nickname in the pod was Sleepy, and I ended up in jail getting it tattooed right there. It says Sleepy.
When I went to jail, literally, I slept through the whole first processing part of it. I'm like, how did I even get here? Like, I didn't even, what? Yeah,
yeah, me too.
I didn't want to come out of my cell. I didn't want to eat. I didn't want to do anything. I just wanted to sleep the whole time.
Yeah, I remember going to, transitioning from the place where they check you in to the holding cell. And then from the holding cell, I vaguely remember walking with my bag. And then I, like 2 weeks later, I remember, hey, Sleepy, wake up. You need to take a shower.
And I remember when they let me out of jail, so they wouldn't just release me, right? Because I had to go to a drug program, they had to transport me. So I couldn't just like walk out and leave, right? Like I had to get dressed out, blah, blah, get in the van. They took me straight to the facility. They were like, we're not letting you hit the street. But I remember when I got arrested in an outfit, and that's all I had. Yo, when I got out of jail, that thing was busting every button, every zipper. I got to that rehab place. They were like, girl, you got any clothes? I was like, I ain't got nothing. They had to go get me like all these clothes because I didn't have nothing.
I remember getting out of jail, putting those clothes back on. I'm like, ew, I was wearing this.
I was like, oh my God, I'm a size 3. I'm so awesome. And they're like, no, you need to eat a sandwich and you need to take a nap.
Yep. That's awesome. Is there anybody with any questions for Krystal?
I love
Takes me out a minute for it to come through.
Ooh, I got a question.
Link's got a question.
What's your sobriety date?
December 15th, 2015.
Yeah, buddy.
He's so sweet.
Thank you.
Oh, he's so cute. And we got married. My husband and I, we got married. And I did it right this time. I completed all my steps. I waited. I had a whole year. I had a year clean, and then we got married the day after my clean.
Oh, cool.
Not even joking. Like literally the day after our wedding anniversary is December 16th, 2016.
Oh, awesome.
That's awesome.
1 year.
Not
1
even
year.
like they told me, they were like, dude, you don't even, how can you love somebody or give away what you don't have? You don't even love yourself. They were like, do the steps, wait a year, and then, you know, if you want to date or whatever, you can do that. And I was all gung-ho, like, nope, I'm not doing any of that. I had the ex-husband of 13 years, toxic. I had the ex-boyfriend alcoholic, 7 years, toxic. Another 2 years of the drug addict boyfriend, toxic. I was like, no, it's just me and you, God. I didn't divorce my ex-husband. We had not been together in 10 years. I was still married to him because I was like, I'm not getting a divorce, because if I get a divorce, that means I'm single, and that means somebody can remarry me. If I'm divorced already, nobody can marry me. Not even lying. I was done. I was like, nope.
That's awesome. All righty. Let's read. Should we read you want to read just for today or a daily reflection?
Just for today is good. Whatever one. I like them both. I love all of them.
I'll let you read it if you want to.
All right, let me pull it up on my phone. Hold on.
Jolie says, thank you so much. She needed to hear this so bad today.
Oh, you're so welcome. Let's see.
Yeah, and if y'all didn't know, Krystal is in our private group if you guys ever want to just say hi.
Yes, I am. I love your guys' posts. I do. I really do. I try to post when I think of something or see something cool. I share it to your group and my group. What is it? The just for today, right?
Yep.
The meditation. Oh, no. The closing one.
Just for today.
Yeah,
Tell yourself.
My thing is not.
My app says carry me for May 29th. Is there a morning and an evening one? I didn't know that.
You want the meditation though, right?
Oh, I don't know. I have a NA key tag app on my phone.
What?
And when I click it, it has my clean date on there.
Oh yeah, you have like one of those thingies.
Yeah, and then underneath the clean day, it shows me just for today, and then I click that, and it pulls up the reading.
My phone's being ridiculous. So
I'll read it.
Yeah, you can read it. Sorry.
Cool. No worries. All right. We believe that our higher power will take care of us. And that's basic text, page 58. We all have times when it seems as though our lives are falling apart. There are days or even weeks when it seems that everything that can go wrong is going wrong. Whether it's the loss of a job, the death of a loved one, or the end of a relationship, we doubt that we will survive the changes taking place in our lives. It is during the times when the world is crashing down around us, that we find our greatest faith in loving higher power. No human being could relieve our suffering. We know that only God's care can provide the comfort we seek. We feel broken, but we go on, knowing that our lives will be repaired. As we progress in our recovery and our faith in our higher power grows, we are sure to greet the difficult times with a sense of hope, despite the pain we may be in. We need not despair, for we know that our higher power's care will carry us through when we can't walk on our own. So just for today, I will rely on God's care through the painful times, knowing that my higher power will always be there. Amen.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love it.
Cool. We'd like to close with a serenity prayer. You can join us if you want to.
Yes, sir.
All right. God,
God,
grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
Just for today.
Amen.
That was so awesome. Thanks, guys, for having me. I really appreciate it. And thank you guys for all the positive comments and questions and everything like that. One day at a time, 1 minute at a time, 1 second at a time. Thank you, higher power.
Amen. And
Amen.
we will be back tomorrow at 8:00. For everybody that don't know, now you know. But until then, stay strong, work your program, and remember, we recover better together.
Together.